welcome back to our channel. My name is Shay. I am a full-time reseller on Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari.
I am Tyler, part-time seller on Mercari, eBay, Poshmark.
In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Shop Safe Act as well as the Inform Act and what that means for you if you are an online reseller of any type of item. So this is going to be a super important video. I think everybody should kind of know about this and read about this. So make sure you stay to the end. We are going to break this down for you as to what each bill is, how they are different, and our personal opinions on them. Before we get into heavy stuff, though, do you want to show your
I do have a t-shirt. So what you're saying is that people should be informed about the Inform Act?
I think so.
So I do have a t-shirt. It's I speak in movie quotes, song lyrics, and sarcasm, which kind of is.
It's your ad.
It's kind of my thing. Yeah.
So, anyways, if you find this helpful, if you find this something that you think people should see, please share this. I think we need to, as resellers, band together to get the information out that is important to us. And I think this is one of those things. So share, comment, it helps the algorithm push this out to more people, like all of those things. Okay.
Let's get started.
Let's get right into it. So just, if you are a seller on Mercari, you may have seen a little notification that said that the Shop Safe Act has come out, and they gave a little blurb about what it is. So we are going to share with you what that blurb was, just in case you missed it. So make sure you pause to read this. And essentially, what they stated was that the Shop Safe Act came out, and they are feeling they need to lobby against it because it puts undue pressure on the individual sellers to identify themselves prior to even having made a sale. They use an example of a single mom who is selling clothing, and they feel that it is not required. It should not be required for her to have to identify herself with government ID prior to even making a sale. They are instead pushing for the Inform Act, which they feel is a more unbiased approach?
More balanced approach.
More balanced, that's the word. They feel is a more balanced approach for this legislation.
Regulatory oversight.
Right.
So much fun.
Yeah. So we are going to go into what both of those are and explain to you why we feel the way we feel about them. But I want to just give a caveat. So
everyone has a different perspective on how they look at things. We look at things from the perspective of resellers, and Mercari is looking at it from the perspective of an online selling platform. And so they're gonna say what's best for them, even if it's not best for us personally, and that's fine. But you do have to take that into account. You have to make the decision for what you feel is best for yourself.
Right. So I do want to be clear that neither perspective is incorrect. They are protecting different interests. We are protecting an individual reselling business, and they are protecting an e-commerce platform.
Yes.
So whatever your self-interests are may vary how you feel about these individual bills. So let's get right into it. So what is the Shop Safe Act that they are lobbying against? So the Shop Safe Act is targeted at goods that could implicate the health and safety of a consumer. And essentially what it's asking platforms to do is to require that reasonable steps are taken to verify authenticity of goods. Attestation must happen, and a seller must verify themselves through government ID. This does also completely prohibit the use of stock photos, and there must be measures for screening for these goods provided at no cost to the consumer from the platform. Sellers must be terminated if they are determined to have been selling counterfeit goods, and there needs to be measures in place to ensure that offenders cannot rejoin the platforms if they are determined to be counterfeit sellers. There also needs to be something in place so that sellers can be contacted by the consumer if there is any kind of question as to whether or not the goods that they are selling is counterfeit. This is going to apply to all platforms that have over 500,000 annually in sales. So that is essentially what it is. Did I miss anything?
The biggest part is it's putting liability on the platform itself. So that up to this point, it's always been illegal to sell counterfeit items, obviously. But that liability was personally assumed by the seller of the item, and there was no real liability for the online marketplace. This bill would change that.
Yes.
From what we can read through.
Yeah, from what it seems like, if it is found that sellers are selling counterfeit goods on the platform and platforms are not doing anything about it, they can be held civilly liable. It looks like it's about 10 notifications to the platform that go unanswered that would then determine that civil litigation can happen. But yeah, so that is essentially what the ShopSafe Act is.
Yeah.
We're going to reserve opinions to a little bit further down.
Moving on to the Informed Consumers Act. So the Informed Consumers Act is targeting capturing certain information on the sellers for all consumer goods that are being listed online across all platforms. So when they say high volume seller, what they are referencing specifically is anyone that has 200 or more sales and or $5,000 worth of gross revenue for the year. So if you meet those criteria, you are required to provide certain information to the online platform. Bank account information, it's going to be a government issue photo ID, tax ID number, and social security. It's going to be phone number, email, and your address. So if you fall into that criteria, you're going to have to provide that information to the platform. And furthermore, they are going to post all of that information on, well, not your social security number and your driver's license and all of that, but they're going to post your phone number, email, address on all of the listings so that the consumer has a way to get a hold of you if they are having issues. There are exceptions to that. So if you have a personal address and you don't have a business address, you are able to ask the platform to only include your state and country. They can choose to honor that or not, seemingly from this bill. And then also there's an annual attestation that you have to confirm that all of this information is correct. Otherwise, your account can be suspended. There have to be reporting criteria built in to this so that consumers can report suspicious activity for any listings. And if you are not responsive enough, they are also then able to suspend service and suspend your seller.
Yep.
So that is broad strokes, bullet points, the Informed Consumers Act.
Yeah, so comparing the two, looking at what they have in common, what they're different, they both seem to be looking for ways in which to identify sellers who are dishonest with selling, whether it be selling counterfeit goods or other mechanisms that make them dishonest. It looks like that is the target of both bills. The ShopSafe Act seems to be mostly concerned with goods that are having to do with health and safety. Again, as I said at the front, this is a broad term, health and safety. We don't know if that means things that can actually cause harm, like a car seat that falls apart, or it could turn into fabrics that may be deemed
Have
hazardous.
allergens or...
Right. This is broad. However, in the Inform Act, it does appear that this is going to cover any consumer product, any product that somebody may purchase. There's also a difference in where liability is falling in these acts. Now, remember, as we stated, it is always been illegal to sell counterfeit goods. That does not change. It's always going to be illegal. That is the case here as well. In the ShopSafe Act, the e-commerce platform is responsible for ensuring that they are not selling counterfeit goods on their platform.
Yes.
And if they are found to be selling counterfeit goods, they can be held civilly liable. That is not the case in the Inform Act. In the Inform Act, it does seem like the liability is going to fall on the seller and the seller alone. Again, as I said, it's always been the case. It is just looking to put more mechanisms in place for the government to find out that you're doing it.
Yes. The other part of that is for the ShopSafe Act, there seems to be a lot of provisions where the online marketplace has to put in other steps to verify the items independently. So they have to use technology and other steps to verify that all of the items are genuine, which is not, from what I can see, written into the Inform Act bill.
Yeah. Now, the other big difference that I think is where a little bit of concern comes in is how much information is required to be shared publicly. So in the ShopSafe Act, it does appear that you are required to identify yourself and show government ID, all of the type of things that are required in both acts. But it looks like there's more provisions to hide that information from a consumer as long as the platform can access it and verify it.
Yes.
They really only have to provide a mechanism to message back and forth with the seller, but your actual information is not publicly available. On the Inform Act, it looks as though what they're asking is that your information is made publicly available. So that might mean your physical address if you have one. It might mean an email address, phone number, your full legal name. All of that would be publicly available on every single listing that you have. So that is a main difference. And this is applying to only high volume sellers, which is people that make $5,000 in gross revenue or more. However, this is a reselling channel, so as you know, that's most of us, right?
Most of us are there.
Most of us.
All right, you want to give our opinions and thoughts on the two bills?
I think that's good to do.
So what are your thoughts on the two? Which do you prefer?
So I want to say that I do absolutely think that there needs to be limiting of counterfeit goods. I think that that's something that hurts a buyer experience and makes it really difficult for people to trust reputable sellers. So I'm glad that they are doing something about it. I will say that with the two acts, the one that I would support personally more would be the Shop Safe Act. This is because both of these are requiring me to identify myself. So that doesn't change. So when Mercari stated that a single mom shouldn't have to identify herself when she's selling baby clothes, they may have been referring to the fact that she may not be making $5,000 a year. So that's where they're coming from with that. However, as a reseller, that doesn't apply to me. What applies to me is what I'm required to report. And either way, I have to report the same information. For the Shop Safe Act, though, my information is not made public. And that's really important to me, protecting myself as a human on the internet.
Well, it's less visible in terms of your address, name, and all of that. There are reporting criteria, and so you have to have an email and things up, but
yeah,
most of the stuff can be removed because it's a personal residence.
Yeah, so there is going to be stuff that is put out there, like my email, but I don't want my full legal name and all of that information on every single listing. That is a personal preference, of course, but it feels a little bit more invasive to me, where the Inform Act is requiring all of this stuff public. The Shop Safe Act seems to be only requiring that I report to the platform, and then they give a limited amount of information publicly. So that's kind of where I fall. What about you?
So my biggest takeaway is that one covers everything, one covers very specific
That's true too.
markets. So we don't sell a whole lot of things that could conceivably, in my mind, be impacting someone's health and safety and well-being. We sell clothing predominantly. You're not going to have, I can't imagine an argument where someone's going to say, that handbag that you sent me caused me to break my leg. That may be an exaggeration, but it seemingly would not apply to the majority of our business regardless. And I do like the provisions that exempt personal residences and personal information from not being listed publicly.
Right. So if you are a seller that only sells clothing, it is possible that only the Inform Act would actually impact you at all. I do know that platforms may apply this stuff more broadly because it's very difficult to kind of narrow down, what is going on. But legally, it seems like it may be only the Inform Act that would impact us clothing sellers.
The other part of it for me is the fact that the Shop Safe is requiring things that the online platform has to provide for you, which is a nice extra benefit, honestly. So if they're going to take steps to verify items, that gives the buyers a little bit of an extra bit of confidence in the shopping experience that I don't have to cover and pay for.
Right. Right now, platforms do, like Mercari, does have mechanisms in place where you can get things verified. However, it does cost money because they're doing it third party. It looks like that would be required to be free. Now, of course, we're only looking at what we can understand from the bill, and it hasn't been passed yet, so things could change. But that's how it looks. So that would be kind of nice. But As we said before, we are resellers that sell predominantly clothing, so we are biased in this. However, I do think it's important that we look at this and we try to understand it from our perspective, because Macari is asking that people reach out and try to stop the Shop Safe Act and instead push the Informed Consumers Act. If you have a preference either way, it's really important that you figure out what is more important to you and you notify your congresspeople what your preference is, because that's the only way we can get our voice heard, is if we do that for ourselves.
No one's going to look out for yourself better than you. So it's up to you to look at both. We're going to leave the links down in the description. They're not particularly hard to find, and they're not very long. They're only a few pages each.
Right.
So take some time. If it's going to impact your business, it's worth sitting down for 10 minutes to read them over and make a decision for yourself on which one you find more invasive and problematic.
Absolutely. And please do start a discussion in the comments. I would really love to see people talking about this and really understanding exactly what is going on. If there's something we missed or something that we may have misinterpreted, would love to hear more about that, because I want to be fully informed before I make a solid decision and move forward with talking to my congressperson. So this group effort is going to help that as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure that you share this, even if it's just telling people that this exists and making more people read the bills. I think that's super important. So thank you guys so much. We'll be back really soon with a new video.
Thank you all for watching.